Hey, this is Gina Grad.
Hi, this is Teresa Strasser.
Hi, everyone. This is Mike Errico.
Hey there. This is Casey Cavalier.
I'm Rocky Rose.
And you are listening to The Jay Franzi Show.
Lucky you.
Welcome to The Jay Franzi Show. A behind-the-curtain look at the entertainment industry with insights you can't pay for and stories you've never heard. Now, here's your host, Jay Franzi.
Well, hello, and welcome to the show. I am Jay Franzi, and this is your backstage pass to the music industry. This week, we get to talk with a country music recording artist. We get to talk with Trey Calloway. We'll talk to him about what it's like to be on the iconic billboard in Nashville, what it's like to be an award winner, and we'll talk to him about what it's like to perform at the legendary Billy Bob's. Now, Trey, he is not only an amazing artist, but he is an amazing person, and I can't wait to talk with him tonight. So if you would like to join in, comment, or fire off any questions, please head over to jfranzi.com. Now, let's get started. What was it like to see yourself on a billboard, the iconic billboard in Nashville?
It was pretty cool, man. A lot of hometown folks were reaching out to me. They think I'm already famous, and I'm still on my way. I'm trying my best, but it was good. Grandma was reaching out to me, and aunts and uncles and friends from high school and all that stuff. It was a lot of fun, man. We went out there, and the way it works, it's an electronic billboard, so it changes like every 30 seconds. So you got to stand out there, and you got to wait for your picture to come back up there. And so as soon as it popped up, we go, all right, it's up, hurry up, take the picture. So, but it really was something else, man.
Well, that's still fairly new that it's electronic. It used to just be a still image.
Yeah, they've got it. It's changing. I mean, it rotates now, and then they put all the new artists up there and stuff. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. How do you get yourself on the rotation?
Well, I think you call them. I think you just call them and you say, hey, I've got a new single I'm pushing, and they'll do it. Now, I don't think they take everybody, but if you're in Nashville recording and you're putting out some music and they see that you're, I guess, coming up or doing some hard work and stuff, they'll put you on there. But it was really cool, man.
I'm sure if you don't spend much time in Nashville, you don't really know how iconic that billboard is.
Yeah.
And just how many people have been on it. And it's just right in the heart, right at the foot of Music Row.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, everybody who goes to work, working in the music business, sees that billboard every single day.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, man. It was actually right down the street from where I was living at the time. And yeah, so it was pretty cool. It's right there by the local, this place right here, and yeah, like you said, right there by Midtown, right there by Music Row. So it was pretty cool, Jay.
All right, so let's take another twist here. You, my friend, have had a hat trick of music awards, and I say hat trick because you've won 3 Josie Awards.
Yes, sir.
So tell me about it. How's that come about?
Well, we've been affiliated with Josie's now for a couple years, and for the past 2 years, they've had it at the Grand Ole Opry. So you get the opportunity, if you win something, to go up on the Opry stage and you can stand in the circle if you'd like to.
Did you?
I did not. I chickened out. So that's a funny story, actually. There was one fella that was real mad at me about it. He didn't like that I didn't stand in that circle. But for me, that circle is sacred ground. It's almost like church to me. So, I have no problem with anybody else standing in that circle. Whenever you feel like you're ready, you go stand in it and have your moment. You be proud. But for me, I just didn't feel that the time was right. And I may never get the chance. But being on the Opry stage in general is a big honor. And Josie and Tina and all the people affiliated with that are great people. And been able to go to the TCMAs as well, the Texas Country Music Awards as well. And it's been a lot of fun, man. I try not to get my hopes up too high, but we always get our hopes up to try to. Everybody wants to win something, but just being nominated is pretty cool, man. I appreciate you bringing it up, Jay. That makes me happy, bud.
So how many have you won at this point?
Well, this past year I was nominated for 11. So nominations, I've had a lot of nominations, but I think I've won 3 or 4 now, I believe.
So only nominated for 11, but you won 3 or 4 of those.
It was funny. We were walking through the line at the beginning, and when the interviewers would ask me how many I was nominated for, I had my manager put me together like a little idiot sheet, little cheat card, so I could read it off. And it was funny. There was this one lady that was like, "Okay, just come on, man." But it was pretty good though. So I don't have the world's best memory. I always say my memory is all locked up in song lyrics and chord changes. So,
Dude, I know how that is. My memory is horrible.
I have to write everything down, Jay.
I call my wife just so I don't forget her name.
Right.
I mean, I really do. I've called her by her name maybe 5 times in my entire life.
Well, and it's got the double benefit of you being sweet and you're making sure you got yourself covered, Right. So, yes,
That's
sir.
exactly it. I used to say that all the time. My grandfather used to call my grandmother wife, and I just thought it was the sweetest thing ever. So I'm just being sweet. That's all.
My great grandfather used to call my great grandmother Mama, because they had so many kids together. It was really sweet. It was a term of endearment.
Of course.
Yes, sir.
All right. So an award winner, nominated several times.
Yes,
you get to go to the Opry. What's it like the first time you even walk into the Opry?
Well, I remember very, very vividly my first time being at the Grand Ole Opry. If you don't mind, I'll tell the story if that's all right.
Oh, please do.
So I think I was 14 or 15, and we went to see Charlie Daniels. It was Charlie Daniels and Darius Rucker and the Bellamy Brothers, and potentially Trace Atkins, I think, was there as well. We were up in the high section off to like stage right. I remember my mom had I think a camera or something, and the batteries died. So I had to go run down to the gift shop to see if they had batteries for my mom. Well, I didn't want to miss anything, so I ran down there. As I'm running back, I'm opening up the package and I'm walking at the same time, and these batteries fall out and they roll towards the elevator. And the guy getting on the elevator just happened to be the host of the Grand Ole Opry. I need to look up his name. I can't remember his name, but he's a bald-headed guy, real tall, skinny fella, and he used to play fiddle on the Opry. We just sat there talking, and I asked him what it was like to be on that stage, because it was, since I was 12 years old, it's been my dream to be on the Opry. And he just told me, there's no other feeling like it in the world. And so, that's my ultimate goal, was to play the Grand Ole Opry just once, Jay. Just one time.
Just one time.
I say it everywhere I go, just one time, and that'll be enough for me. But then all my player buddies that play the Opry all the time, they go, "No, one time's not enough. You do it once, and then you want to do it again." So one time would be good for me, though, I do think.
Well, yeah, the trick to that is remembering that one time.
Exactly.
If you can remember the one time, you're probably pretty good.
Yes, sir.
So how do you handle the emotions, but keep it so that you can remember the time that you're in?
Well, I try to be, I guess at this point in my career, I try to be prepared. I always try to, I think preparation and luck meet somewhere, and that's what success is, being prepared, but being a little lucky. So for me, nerves don't get to me as much anymore as, say when I was first starting out singing, my leg would always shake real bad. Everybody thought I was dancing, but I was just nervous, But it's funny, but it was the truth. I was always terrified to get up on stage, and I grew up singing in church, and I would still be terrified. I knew everybody in the congregation was still scared to death, but now I don't really get the nerves. Now I do think that if I do play a stage like the Opry, I think I would probably be pretty nervous. And from the friends of mine that have done the Opry that talk to me about it, they say that it flies by so fast, because I think when you make your debut, I think you only do 1 or 2 songs. So it flies by, and it's like, you get out there and, it's hello, good night, and you're done. So that I'm going to do my best, and I'll probably just be honest with the crowd, to be honest with you. If that day ever comes for me, I'll probably just be honest with the crowd and say, "Hey guys, I'm nervous as all get out, so you're all going to have to bear with me tonight. Yeah, you're going to have to, if I mess up, I'm just singing jazz."
Just pick up the guitar. It's a new picking pattern.
It's a remix. It's a remix. So, yes, sir.
Oh, that's too funny. So we hear the story of you as a kid going to see Darius Rucker and the others that you mentioned. But what was it like when you went in there for the awards and you got to go and be backstage?
Well, this past year, Neil McCoy was one of the presenters. And I've always been a big Neil McCoy fan. Just the way he treats fans, great singer, great songs, very professional. And I walked back there, and I was actually the first award of the night. I was the first one they called, so nobody else had gone up there. I mean, it was like literally lights came on, show started, 2 minutes later, I won an award. So I walk up there, and I'm like, I thought maybe, I'd have some time to maybe figure out what everybody else is saying and kind of say what they're saying. But no, I was the first one. So I get up there, and I just said something to the degree of, let's try to have a good time tonight. It's great to see all my friends out there and people I don't know. And, thank you for this award. And I kept it real short and sweet. And then I walked backstage, and there's Neil McCoy. And he's looking at me, and I said, Mr. McCoy, how you doing? And he said, I really liked your speech, son. So I was like, maybe I did pretty good. And then it was that brief. I mean, I walked back there, and it was real dark, so I couldn't see a whole lot, but I could definitely see that Neil was there. And all the other people were standing back there waiting to present. But then we went back in the back room, and then they interview you, and they take some pictures with you and stuff. And then you go back and sit in your seat. And my wife was going nuts. She was real proud of me. She's my biggest fan. She's always the one cheering me on the most.
How long did it take when you went off stage to get back to your wife?
I'd say about 15 minutes. So you get your award, you give your speech, and then you walk back there, shake some hands, and they do a presser back there, take pictures and give you your awards, and then you walk back through, and then you come and sit down. So maybe 15 minutes.
Was that the award you took home?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you get the award, and was it personalized in any way?
They do. It's personalized. They engrave what the category is and your name as well. And so what I won this year was Vocal Event of the Year. A friend of mine named Justin Biltonen, who's another country artist. He's also the bass player in Three Doors Down.
Oh, yeah.
Band Three Doors Down. But he's also a country artist. And we wrote a song called Working Thing. My wife was calling me one day and telling me she just didn't feel like working that day. And she's like, I need you to hurry up and get a #1 hit so I can quit working because I hate this working thing. And I said, well, that's a hook of a song if I've ever heard one. So I wrote that down. Justin and I wrote the song and recorded it together. That made it a vocal event that we did it as kind of like a duo, like a duet kind of thing. And he wasn't able to make it that night, so I got up there and I accepted the award for both of us. Which I've still got his award. I've got to get together with him and give it to him because it still hadn't been that long. But he's busy out there on the road too, and he's a busy guy, especially when summertime rolls around because Three Doors Down goes out on tour. And
that's a great band.
And they're crazy, man. Yeah, they've come back with a force. They're back at it full on now.
Yeah, that's a band that that's the style of music I grew up with. That's the type of band I really like.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So I asked you about getting back to your wife because if it takes 15 minutes, how bad did that anticipation build in your wife?
Well, I mean, Raina is so not a music business person. She is, she's from Ohio. She's your average small town American girl. She went to Ohio State. She's a big Buckeye fan. She's like the girl next door, and she's and the transition of being in this world for her has been an adjustment, but she's so good at it. She's so people just love her to death. When they meet me and then they meet her, they see why I fell so much in love with her. She's amazing. She likes to get dressed up and go to parties. There she is. That's her. We just got married about a month ago. And
congratulations.
She's amazing. Well, thank you, sir. And she's I can't brag on her enough. She's something else. And she keeps me grounded. I think a lot of times musicians are big dreamers. You know what I mean? And we're our heads are in the clouds. And we're always looking at the next horizon. We're not paying attention to the valley. We're looking at the next horizon. And that's something that we battle with. It's a blessing and a curse because we want to succeed. We want to keep driving forward to the next thing and be successful. But you have that person that's your anchor. And that's what she is for me.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
I was also married in October, but it was, 15 years ago at this point?
Congratulations. Happy anniversary, bud.
Well, thank you. Is she really taller than you?
Yes, she is about a half an inch taller than me when we don't have our shoes on. She's got big heels. Well, she's also in that picture. kind of up on her tippy toes
Right.
a little bit. Where I'd say her and I are about the same height. Honestly, we're about the same height. When she's on her tippy toes like that, she's
How
a little
come I
taller.
feel like you're fibbing a little bit?
No. Straight up. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. Tell them the truth. When I have my boots on, I'm a little bit taller than she is. If she's taller than me, it's like quarter inch or a half inch. I don't know. Maybe.
I just want to point out
You might be
a
right.
quarter inch means a lot. I tell my wife that all the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But you know, it never bothered her. It never bothered me. She's like, she comes from a super athletic family. They're all gymnasts and track runners, and I'm over here with my guitar, like, you know.
Right. What part of Ohio is she from?
She's from Akron, Canton area,
So
up towards
high
Cleveland.
up there, yeah.
Yep, she's from up towards Cleveland. Big Buckeye fan, like I said. Her family's hometown is a town called Mogador, which if you blink, you'll miss it. If you're driving through and you blink, you'll miss it. But then she grew up in a little town called Greene, which Greene is more of a I would say Mogador is like a little tiny country town. Greene is maybe like a suburb. Kind of, I guess you could call Greene a suburb. She's a Buckeye girl, man. The other day when Michigan beat Ohio State, man, she was depressed for the rest of the day.
So we don't say go blue.
She was not liking it. No. If I say that, I'll get in trouble. See, and I was raised, my dad, even though I'm from North Carolina originally, my dad grew up an Alabama fan and raised me to be an Alabama fan.
Crimson.
Because, you know, North Carolina really doesn't have any football to brag on too much. So we just been Bama fans. So that's created a lot of issues whenever Bama and Ohio State play. I have to, because my dad will give me a hard time if I'm pulling for the Bucks, and my wife will give me a hard time if I'm pulling for the Tide, you know. So
I live in this area with Jay. Ohio State here, and I know between them and Michigan, I know that battle.
Well, I've become a Buckeye fan. You know, if they're not playing Bama, I'm pulling for the Bucks pretty much always.
All right, sir. Well, let's get back to your music. We're talking about downtown. We talked about the Wild Beaver, but what about Jason Aldean's? What's it like playing there?
So Jay is pretty cool. It's called Tequila Cowboys, and I just recently started playing there with a friend of mine named Lucy, and we always bring in a drummer that plays with us. So we're working on trying to get some more shows there. My normal shows have been Alan Jackson's Good Time Bar. I've been playing that one for a while now, since I moved to town. Man, that place is like a family. A lot of those bars down there are, you know, it's definitely a job. You come to work and it's, you know, very corporate. And
it's tough.
You do your thing and you go home. But AJ's feels like a family, and that's one of the things I love about it most. Everybody knows everybody. All the bands are all buddies with each other. It is. You know, I thought about that one time. It's crazy that you bring it up, because I thought about it one time, and I was walking in one night. I just didn't feel, I don't know, sometimes when you do this job for a living, you always have to put the face on. You always have to smile and be nice to fans and friends, and thankful that they're coming out to see you and that they're spending their hard-earned money with you. But you don't always feel 100%. You don't always feel like king of the world that day. And I just happened to be kind of feeling that way one day. Maybe it was cold. It might have been last winter time or something like that. But I walked in there and I stood by the bar and I looked around and I said, you know, none of these people know who I am. I had my hat pulled down. None of these people know who I am. It might have been right around the time I first moved to Nashville. And I said, you know, if I ever do get to be a big star or successful in the music business, these nights where I was just blending in and playing country music because I love it, these are the good old days. These are the days you'll miss one day. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but you're a good interviewer. You're leading me right, and it reminded me of that time. I guess the moral of the story is you got to stop and smell the roses every now and then.
How do you get through those moments when you aren't feeling it?
I think the best way that I handle it is that realizing that happiness and sadness and depression or whatever you might be feeling, they come in spurts. You know, things come in seasons in our life. As long as you realize that you got people that love you, keep working hard and keep your nose to the grind, usually that picks me up out of that rut. And normally, a lot of times, it just has to do with weather. Cold weather bums me out. Nobody ever told me. Nobody ever told me that it got so cold in Nashville. I'm not used to this because I lived in North Carolina, and North Carolina gets cold, but it doesn't snow. So
It's a different type of cold.
yes. So the mountains, the Appalachian Mountains, block North Carolina from getting those big Midwestern snowstorms that come through. And then the hurricanes on the coast don't get far enough inland to hit North Carolina usually. So I grew up in this perfect little pocket of weather. And then I moved to Tennessee. And I think 3 days after I moved here, it snowed like 8 inches. And I walk out of my apartment and there's this much snow on the ground. And I was like, woof, we're not in South Carolina
Kansas anymore.
Yeah, we're not. Well, I say we're not in South Carolina anymore because I lived in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a long time. That's basically tropical weather. So there's two weathers there. It's hot and hotter.
My family has a house in Myrtle Beach, and I've yet to go to it. I've never been there.
Do you know whereabouts it is?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Every year they say, come meet us here, and every year I never make it.
Oh, you got to, man. Myrtle's great.
My wife
Myrtle
and I
Beach
were
is great.
ready to go there this year, and then my family didn't make it.
I will tell you, there are places that you want to go to that you definitely want to check out. When you do decide to get down there, give me a call, and I'll point you in the right direction.
My wife is from somewhat the area.
Okay.
So, I mean, her family's from Tennessee, but she went to high school in South Carolina,
Okay.
Lakeview.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Where Pedro lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool, man. Well, I enjoyed very much the time that I spent living in Myrtle Beach. You know, I kind of feel like I was a part of a resurgence of country music coming back to that area because there's the legacy of Alabama at the Bowery, which is a really famous little bar on the coast in Myrtle Beach. And Alabama, the band, was the house band. They were called Wild Country at the time, and they were the house band there. Then there was a place called the Beach Wagon down there that was really popular. It closed before I moved down there. And country music didn't really have a kind of foothold. So me and about 3 or 4 other of my buddies were down there, and we were playing country music again. And country started budding into this kind of little scene in Myrtle Beach, which was really cool because it was all beach music. It was all like, I love beach music. It was born with it in my soul. It's that very much like Motown stuff. You know what I mean? And then all these country boys were in there with fiddles. So we kind of brought it back, I think. So I'm pretty proud of that.
I laugh. I grew up on the coast as well, but I grew up on the coast of Massachusetts, Boston area.
Yeah.
And their music scene was rock music.
Oh, yeah.
And the venues that I used to go to aren't there anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You had the Channel or you had the Rat. These were these places where Aerosmith and Extreme and the band Boston, they all got their start.
Yes, sir. That's cool, man. That's cool, Jay.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff that, I miss.
Well, the longer I've been in the music business, the one thing I've learned, the clubs and bars and venues come and go. They do. They come and go. You'll get really in love with this one spot, and you're like, man, this place will last forever. And then it closes down, and you're real sad. There's a bar in Charlotte that I would say if I had to pick one club that I got my start in, it's a place called Puckett's Farm Equipment.
Yep.
It's down in Charlotte, North Carolina, or it was. I'm actually not sure if it completely closed down. I know that they were trying to sell it, but I don't know if they did. But it was just this little tiny honky-tonk bar. The guy that started it back in the 50s was a farm equipment store. And the more, built up that area of Charlotte got, the less farm equipment they were selling. So they turned it into a bar. He started selling beer and whiskey, and the rest is history.
And that
turned it into a
sells.
music venue. Turned it into a country music venue. And man, I used to go down there with my cowboy hat on. I was probably 13, man, 13, 14. It was right around the time we took that first trip to Nashville, and I was really falling in love with country music. We went down there, and the owner, Gary Puckett, just let me get up there open mic night and sing my heart out. And so I had a lot of good memories in that place. And I mean, those venues, they come and go, and we carry the memory of them in our hearts. We carry the memory of them in our hearts. I would say the Local is one of those places for me in Nashville.
You say the venues come and go, but there's one venue that I know of that just refuses to go, Billy Bob's.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about your time at Billy Bob's.
Man, that was something else. So the first year that we did the Texas Country Music Awards, I got nominated for Song of the Year for a song that I had written called One Tough Job for my dad. Working man song about my pops. And, I really love the song, but the version that was cut of it was really just a demo. It wasn't like a full-blown master or anything like that. And we submitted it, and it went really, really well. We ended up winning it. So they invited us to come down there to play on the stage at Billy Bob's. You go back there, and all of the artists, the legacy artists that have played there over the years, they all get a brick in the wall that they sign, and they put their logo on it. They can pretty much decorate it however they want to. They put their logo, and they put their all the members of the band will autograph it if it's a band. McBride and the Ride, they've got one with a big M, their big logo and stuff like that and all that. So we go back there, and we're hanging out with all the people in there, and I'm meeting all these great Texas country music artists, and you would think this North Carolina boy that's based in Nashville coming and being in the TCMAs that I would have maybe gotten some blowback, but I never did. All of those Texas country music artists were just super nice and kind and courteous to me, made me feel right at home, and I fell in love with Texas. My manager's actually from Texas, and so he and I will go down there when I'm on tour in Texas and just have a ball. We'll hit Austin and Houston and Fort Worth, Dallas, and anywhere else we can. New Braunfels, we've been to New Braunfels a time or two, and I've really fallen in love with Texas. Everything is bigger down there.
What's your favorite city in Texas?
Oh, man, that's a hard question. I would say I'm almost worried to say one because I feel like I'll get slack.
Well, they're all like different countries, so they all have a different flavor.
Right.
So,
honestly, I will say this. I won't pick a favorite city, but I will pick a favorite barbecue joint. I really like Terry Black's. Yeah, exactly.
All right, hold on a second. We're not going to let you off that easy. If you're not going to pick a favorite city, at least tell me what you like about each one of them. Tell me something.
I'll tell you what. Well, what I love about Austin is Terry Black's. There's a barbecue joint right there in Austin that is just so good. Me and my manager went in there, and we dropped $80 a piece. And I had it's a cow rib. See, in North Carolina, where I'm from, it's pork barbecue. Pork barbecue is king in North Carolina. It's all about ribs. It's all about Boston butts. It's all about vinegar-based barbecue sauce, mustard stuff, and, all that good stuff. Red coleslaw. I'm a red coleslaw man till the day I die. So beef brisket and all that stuff was still something that I'm not super familiar with. But we go down there, and I've got this, looks like a dinosaur bone. It's like a dinosaur rib. I got one of those, and I got some sausage with jalapenos all in it. I mean, you can obviously tell by looking at me that I love to eat,
You're not alone tonight.
I mean, absolutely. So, and then we go to Houston. That's where my manager's from is Houston, and he is all about Mexican food. It's all about the Tex-Mex, the Mexican food. And so he's taking me to all kinds of great Mexican restaurants down there. And in Fort Worth, Dallas, I mean, honestly, for me, if I had to pick a favorite one, if somebody held me up and said pick a favorite, it would be Fort Worth, Dallas, because West Billy Bob's is up there. And the TCMAs are all up there. The Stockyards. The Stockyards reminds me of Nashville a little bit. I think they've done a really good job of preserving their individuality, their personality in that place, but it definitely has that. This is another capital of country music. This is another hub of country music. I think they've done that really well there.
You talk about food and liking to eat. I'm right here with you, buddy.
As soon as me and you are done, I'm going to get dinner, man. I'm going to get me some dinner. I don't know what I'm gonna have yet, but we'll figure it out.
Well, I just finished it. My wife made raviolis tonight. Steak or raviolis, my two favorite meals. But we had a guest at the house last night. She's the founder of Damn Good Cheesecakes, and she brought a cheesecake over yesterday, and I'm still eating on it today.
Oh, man, cheesecake is my language. Well, see, my wife is half Italian. She's half Irish and half Italian.
What a combination.
Cheesecake, anything Italian food she loves. Her grandma makes these really good stuffed cabbage in like a marinara sauce. They're good.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's funny. My family is Italian, but we do have a tiny bit of Irish in our family.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're her mom's side, they're called the Murphys. So there's her grandpa had 14 siblings. So there's a whole bunch of them. There's 150 of them now. And so whenever we go up there for the holidays, they're there, and I get to spend a bunch of time with them. And you know, there's about 3 or 4 last names. You know what I mean? The family has grown into being like 4 different families, really, but they're all one family. It's really cool. And my family's a little bit smaller, so it was a big cool thing for me. I mean, I feel like when I got married, my family just grew so much. You know, and I've got a great family. We've all kind of spread out now, but you know, I have a good family as well. My mom and dad are the best mom and dad you could ever hope for.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's take it back to Billy Bob's for a second.
All right, cool.
So I had a chance to be there for, I think, 2 shows in a row. I was out on the road with Steve Holy.
Steve Holy. I haven't heard that name in a long time, man. Great artist.
Good Morning Beautiful.
Great artist.
But yeah, when I started out, I'm an engineer, and when I started out, I was working with 3 producers in Nashville, and
Nice.
one of them was a guy named Matt McClure, and he was the front of house for Steve Holy. So I went on the road with him. It was awesome. It was a great time, but it was my first and only time out at Billy Bob's.
It's something else, man.
It was an experience for sure.
That place is cool. I mean, it is just like I call it a redneck playground. That's really what it is a redneck playground.
Yeah, it was awesome.
You know?
It was definitely an experience.
Redneck amusement park.
I remember, too, we were pulling in on the tour bus, and I was sleeping on the driver's side back bottom bunk, and the driver took a left turn and hit a Jersey barrier right next to my bunk.
Oh, man.
And I had no idea it even happened. I slept through the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that's good that they did his job then, you know. He did his job.
You also mentioned McBride and the Ride, which I find funny, too, is because they were on the show a few weeks back, and they just told some killer stories, and they were just such nice guys.
Terry and
amazing.
Billy and Ray, man, they've really been nice to me. So, I mean, I you know, I've had the fortune to write with Terry and kind of get to know him a little bit better. And one of the songs on my next album that's going to be coming out next year is a song that he and I and my producer Brandon wrote. And man, the proof's in the pudding with that guy. He's just one of the best songwriters I've ever had the honor of knowing. And like you said, just one of the coolest guys. If you want to know who the coolest guy in the room, if Terry's in there, he's the coolest guy in the room. There's no doubt about it.
Well, he definitely has some of the best stories ever.
Cool. Oh, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
his stories are just insane.
Yes, sir. And Billy and Ray, some of the most talented musicians I've had the pleasure of meeting. They let me come back there and hang out with them in the green room, even if I'm not opening for them. If I'm there, they'll let me come up there and hang out with them, and they're so nice to me. I mean, you know, for a guy like me that doesn't have any hits, you know, hopefully that'll change, but, you know, I'm still the up-and-coming guy, and they've really... With
several awards and 11 nominations.
Well, I'm doing my best, Jay. You know, I mean, I think hard work pays off. I do believe that hard work pays off. And a little bit of luck. I think a little bit of luck and a little bit of hard work, I think, go a long way in this business.
Luck and preparation. That's what
tenacity,
they say.
I guess I'm just too stupid to quit, Jay.
I was on a show the other night, and I said the same thing, and then somebody listened and said, I just love the way he keeps calling himself stupid.
Yeah. Hey, a little self-deprecation goes a long way. I've had my team sometimes will be like, oh, you know, the self-deprecation is cool, but, you know, go easy on yourself. You know, we're all hard on ourselves, man. I mean, and
we all want to do our best.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing is, I learned a long time ago there's a lot better singers than me out there. There's a lot better songwriters than me out there, but do they work as hard as I do? I think that's the thing that I think at the end of the day, if it doesn't happen for me, I'll say I gave it my best. I tried my hardest.
That's what we used to always say as engineers. And I remember Jeff Balding, he was speaking one day at a college in Nashville. And he just said how he got there and how he became Dan Huff's main guy was he was the last one in the room standing.
Amen.
So.
Well, you know, I mean, that's the thing about it is it's if this is what you want to do and you believe it wholeheartedly that you've got what it takes to do it, then chase that dream. Chase that dream as long as you can, because I think if you don't, see, during a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, I almost gave up. I was ready to quit. I was living in Myrtle Beach. And I was just over it, man. I'd played so many gigs. I played every bar, every club, every this and every that. Recorded songs, written them, and nothing was really happening. And I said, maybe this is just where I hang it up. Maybe this is where I go get a house band gig and just be a happy musician for the rest of my life in a bar 4 or 5 nights a week, make a great living, and just be a beach bum, And I met, who's now my wife, I met Raina, and she was the one that taught me back into it. She said, no, go to Nashville for a year, see what happens. So I went to Nashville for a year, and her and I's deal at the beginning of that year, naively on my part, was, if a pub deal, a record deal, whatever, after a year, well, I'll stay.
Which is an outrageous goal.
Yeah, well, of course it is. And Jay, you and I both know that. But me 3-4 years ago didn't know that, And I came out here and things were going great. Things were going great, and they started spiraling. You get a little bit of myth, and you realize, I think when you're young, you realize, you think it's going to be that one big step. It's going to be that you're in a club somewhere, some bar somewhere, and some guy, some A&R guy or girl is going to come in and go, that guy's a star. Right. I want to make him a star.
Make them a star. Yeah, not
it
happening.
Just didn't work that way. No. It doesn't, and I don't necessarily know if it ever did. I think the biopics that we see on TV and I think that they give people that illusion. But no, it's a series of little steps. It's a series of tiny steps.
Thousands of tiny steps.
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. And after that year, her and I both looked at each other and said, if I walk away from this now, we thought it was bad a year ago. I'll regret this for the rest of my life if I leave Nashville. And then that second year rolled around, and I'm coming up on year 3. This coming January will be 3 years. And where we've been, where we are now, and where I was when I came here is night and day. And, I'm proud of what my team has done. I'm proud of what my wife has dealt with. I'm proud of her for dealing with being, because she lives in Myrtle Beach still. Her and I have been doing, it's been tough on us, Jay. She's been living in Myrtle Beach, and I've been living in Nashville. And because she's an engineer, she's working on her career.
I have so many questions. How do I make that happen? How can I get my wife to be in Myrtle Beach? Is that a possibility?
I'm not saying a word.
Wait a minute.
I've not met your wife yet. When I meet her the first time, if she looks at me and gives me the green light, that's okay.
And then you'll love her and you'll hate me. I get it. That's how it always works. Everybody loves her.
No, but I'm sure she's great, man. You're great, Jay. You're a great interviewer.
She's all right.
For one. Well, the thing about it is it's been tough on us. I mean, there's nights and days where we'll call each other and we're both on the verge of just breaking down and like, man, I miss you. You got to come out here. You got to come out. But she's chasing her dream as well. She always wanted to be an engineer.
What type of engineer?
She's a civil engineer. She's a dang good one too. She works her butt off. She's an amazing woman, and I'm proud of her. And I want her to keep chasing her dreams. So we're balancing it. We've found a good work balance, a good work-life love balance, and it's working now. And the momentum that my career is picking up is just it's I can't quit it, man. Jay, it's like a drug. It gets in our blood, and it's we just can't walk away from it. I feel like at this point in my career, I'm that one song away. I'm putting that one song out away. And I think when it does happen, if it happens, if it's God's plan to happen.
When it happens.
Well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate you saying it. When it happens, if it happens, whatever. That all the sacrificing that her and I have done, and my son, and all my family, because I don't get to see my family in North Carolina very much. I get to see them when I go back home, but I'm out here pounding the pavement every day. So it's if anybody out there is listening, young kids are out there listening, or other artists out there, man, if you believe in yourself, come on out here, man, because it starts here. It starts here. Yeah, and never give up. Amen. Yes, sir.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, my wife and I have been through similar challenges. I mean, when I was in the music business 35 years, and as it started winding down from an engineer's point of view, we had to pivot. So I pivoted into the transportation and security side of things, where I would work with tour buses and that type of stuff, and then providing the security for the team while they're out there.
Yeah.
And that took a big leap to make that happen. And my wife, I told her, I said, can you just give me 6 months to see if I can make this happen?
Yep.
And it did. And it happened, and it went extremely well, thank God.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because we have 3 kids now,
Yeah,
and they all like to eat.
Yeah, right. Isn't that weird? That they kind of sort of have to eat, and you gotta give them clothes and stuff. I have a 10-year-old son too, so I have
a 10-year-old daughter. Maybe we could hook them up.
That sounds like a plan, man. From one dad to another, man. Just keep up the good fight. Keep up the good fight, man. It's tough. It's tough, but I wouldn't trade my son for anything in this whole wide world. He's the best kid. I just got off the phone with him not too long ago before I called you up, but he's really something. His name's Cash. I'm real proud of him.
That's awesome.
He's a good boy.
I have 3 daughters. I always say it's God's way of punishing me.
Oof, I know. My dad, so I have a little baby sister. She's 10 as well. So my mom and dad basically had 2 only children, if you think about it. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, my dad's tried to tell me, he's like, man, having a little boy is one thing, but having a little girl is a whole different ball of wax.
I don't have a son, but I can tell you it is for sure.
Yeah. Well, my wife and I are probably going to try to have some kids here eventually, and I just know that we're going to have one that's just like my wife. She's going to look at me and tell me I'm doing something wrong, and I'm just going to sit there and grin.
My daughter at the dinner table tonight, she apologized by saying, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I said, you're just like your mother. My wife goes, I don't say that. I'm like, no, you live and breathe it. That's what you do.
Well, I mean, it's just, I look forward to it. I'd love to have a daughter one of these days, man. I'm sure it's
I
great.
have 3. We can arrange it. You can
you borrow one.
just take one.
I heard
the youngest one, she still doesn't even know better.
Oh, man, how old are they?
I've got a 14, a 10, and a 2.
Oh, wow. So the baby's the real baby.
Yes, real baby. Yes. It's a little tornado.
Yeah.
And you know what I've noticed too is the 14-year-old, sweet, beautiful girl.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old, because she has a 14-year-old sister, has always acted like she's 14 as well.
Mm-hmm. She wants to be like her big sis.
Right. And she hangs out with her friends. When her friends are over, she's just right up in their business.
Yeah.
But now the 2-year-old, she thinks she's 14.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's incredible.
Man, I'm sorry, brother. Any chances of having another one?
No, stop. Hey, whoa.
Maybe trying one more boy? I'm trying to help you out.
No, that's not helping me out. No, I don't even touch my wife anymore. Forget it. I barely find myself in the same room.
I feel like she's off to the side of the camera right now.
With a shotgun.
About to throw a brick at you.
Yeah, that's her for sure.
That's cool, man. That's very cool, brother.
Oh,
that's
dear
very
God,
cool,
no. Curses.
Yeah.
Curse you. No.
I'd like to end up with 2 or 3 more. I'd like to end up with 4, I think.
Oh, good for you.
I I was an only child, so I'd like to have a bunch of little kids running around. I think that'd be cool.
I met a lady last night who was pregnant, and she, was talking to her, and she says, "Oh, I'm 7 months pregnant." I said, "Oh, congratulations." She goes, "Yeah, this is number 5." I'm like,
"Oh my Lord!" Well, see, my drummer. So I'm not sure if you know Tim Atwood. He played at the Opry for a long time. Okay. Well, his son is my drummer. Tristan Atwood plays drums for me, and he has got 5 girls. He's got a wife and 5 girls. So, man, he's all the time. He's just surrounded, man. But I've met most of his daughters. I haven't met his youngest one because she's real little. But most of his other daughters I met, they're all real sweet. One of them works at the Grand Ole Opry, if I'm not mistaken.
There you go.
So, and of course, Tim's a legend, man. He played at the Opry for about 40 years. He's just one of those musicians that's done everything and seen everybody and played with every legend there is. And
Nashville's a crazy town for that stuff.
It really is, man. And the more you get into it here, the more you just realize, man, it's like I said, it goes back to that thing I said about AJ's. These are the good old days. These are the days that even if I never make it, Jay, if I never am some big star,
knock on wood somewhere,
I'll remember these times. I'll tell my grandkids about these times one day. I know that.
Well, let's talk about your music and take it a step further. I mean, this year alone, you've got over 1.5 million streams.
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you're definitely making massive progress.
I'm proud of us. You should see our rap from this year and last year, man. It's night and day. And it is. I'm proud. I'm proud of the work that all the people involved in this have done.
So you mentioned, was it Brandon that was your producer?
So I'm working with a guy named Brandon Hood now, and he and I are in the middle of cutting. As a matter of fact, I'm going in to do some comps next week. We've already cut 6 tracks. We've got tracks for 6 new songs, but I've got to go in there and sing them. And I don't know if it's. I don't know for 100% whether it's going to turn into a full length yet. That'd be great if it does. We just released the Wanted Man album, and then the Christmas single that we're put out right now, Christmas with You, which I wrote with my buddy J.P. Williams, and it's streaming really good, man. Everybody's loving it.
J.P. Williams, blind guitar player.
He is. He's a blind fella, and he's his biggest claim to fame, his biggest hit that he wrote is Best Shot. For Jimmy Allen, he wrote Best Shot, and I mean, he's written all kinds of songs, man. But he's one of the good ones. He actually just called me. He actually just texted me as I was talking to you, so I got to give him a call back here. But
yeah, I worked with him on a couple different occasions.
JP's the man.
Yeah.
He really is. JP and Cody Kelly, a fellow named Cody Kelly, and a guy named Doc Lewis wrote a song called Horses in Heaven that I'm really proud of off that Wanted Man album. And yeah, man, JP's great. Yeah. JP and I've written a bunch of songs, and the way the Christmas with You song came about was my team had booked me a recording session, and they were like, you got to be in the studio in like 2 days to do a Christmas song because, that's what you're supposed to do right now is do a Christmas song. And I said, well, I don't have a Christmas song, and I didn't feel like going to find one and stuff. I wanted to write one. So I called up JP and I said, hey, man, I know it's super last minute. Can we get together and just for like an hour and write a Christmas song? And we ended up writing this song.
Just for an hour.
Just for an hour, man. And it just kind of flowed out of us. We both had a hand. Both of our hands are on that song. So a lot of both of us in that song. And it's just about being away.
When did you write it?
I think we cut that back in July or August.
Okay, that's what I want to check. Christmas in July. That's when we go.
It was
Nashville
definitely. Oh yeah, I mean, it was definitely not cold yet when we went to cut that. I mean, Nashville, the weather here, it's 103 degrees in my car in the summertime, and it was 17 degrees the other night. It felt like 13. It's insane, man.
Did you decorate the studio at all?
No. The decorating that I do is usually when I go back to Charlotte. So when I say Charlotte, that's the town that my folks live near. They don't live in Charlotte. They live in a town called Mooresville, which is about 30 minutes north of Charlotte. So that's where my folks live now. My dad is like what's the guy from Griswold? My dad's like Griswold, Clark. And so he goes hard in the paint with the Christmas decorations. And so he needed my help this year. So we got out there and spent the whole day putting up all the inflatables and all the Christmas
I could use your help
lights.
this year.
Hey, man, you let me know.
We don't have a single thing out right now.
Man, it's Christmas decorating it's a whole. There's some people take it to a whole nother level, man. Have you seen that show that's out now about like the world's biggest Christmas decorators, and they go around and I think it was on some show that my mom was watching, and I just happened to be downstairs watching it with her. And man, there's some people out there really going hard in the paint with it. If I ever have the money to do it, I'd love to do it too, but that's a lot of money and a lot of time.
I'd have to have the money to pay somebody else to do it.
You ain't kidding,
That's
man.
not my thing.
I mean, we got my mom and dad's house decorated really cool, so it looks good this year. And Thanksgiving and Christmas is probably my favorite time of year.
Oh, I love Thanksgiving.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so we mentioned Brandon, and you also mentioned your team. So can you tell us who's on your team?
Well, so I have a social media marketing guy, a guy named Dom, and he's also the one that goes on the road with me sometime. And then a fella named Scott, my publicist, great dude, love Scott to death. And Brandon Hood, my producer, and I did the whole Wanted Man album with a guy named Grady Saxman. Grady's another one is just phenomenal, and he's super good producer, great reputation. Everybody in town loves him. You know, the way I got hooked up with Brandon was through Terry. Terry and I went to go write one day, and he was just asking me, you know, did you ever wanted to branch out, just work with a different producer? You know, nothing against Grady or anything like that, but it was just like, sure, I'd love to. So Brandon reached out to me, and we really clicked off from the get-go. I think he and I are kindred spirits when it comes to our love of country music and the barn burner stuff, the 90s stuff, and the rock and roll boogie woogie country that I really like to do. It was a good fit. We got in there in the studio. He put together a great band for this 6 songs that we've already done. Bruce Boughton, I don't know if you've ever met Bruce or talked to Bruce. Bruce is, in my opinion, one of the greatest steel players of all time. And we had a lot of good players on that set. Mark Hill, I believe is his name, plays bass for Brooks and Dunn. Played on the session with us too. Great guy. So I'm excited about these songs coming out. And I know you know, Jay, that's how every artist is. You put out an album and you're like, yeah, that album's great.
Of course.
Listen to this one I'm working on now. You know.
That's funny.
So that's how it goes with me, man.
You mentioned Brooks and Dunn. A couple of those guys have been on the show, and Jeff King, the guitar player, one of the best in the world.
Yeah.
He actually invited me and my daughter, the 10-year-old, to go see him when they were in Columbus.
Yeah.
So we went up there to see him, and he took us backstage, and we had dinner with everybody. But then John Root, who's their drum tech, he was also on the show, and he took my daughter on stage and let her play the drums, and she got to go, front of the stage and look out over the arena.
Cool,
and
that's so cool.
It was awesome. And Greg Morrow is the drummer that's out with them. Amazing studio musician, drummer.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Well, it's what we talk about, man. I mean, this town's just chock full of so many talented dudes and girls, and I mean, just everywhere you look. Somebody's just a phenom, man. And I just love this. I just love this town. I really do, man. I have fallen in love with Nashville. It's a great place to be. It's a great place. The vibe is all amazing. Sometimes people go through a hard time. You got your buddies, and sometimes they'll get depressed. And we all get depressed and feel bad about our careers, but there's people there to pick you up and make you feel better about it. I love the support. And I was actually writing with a fella named Richie Brown tonight. Richie Brown and a guy named Collins Horton was 2 fellas I wrote with tonight. And Richie wrote a bunch of hits for Garth Brooks and wrote a bunch of hits with Jared Neiman and a bunch of different. I mean, he's had all kinds of cuts, but he's one of the good ones, man. He really believes in me, and he's a good dude.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, on that note, similar path, we do this thing here we call Unsung Heroes, where we take a moment to shine the light on somebody who's worked behind the scenes or somebody who may have supported you along the way. Do you have anybody you'd like to shine a little light on?
I would love to give a big old shout out to Sandy Murphy. She's my mother-in-law, and she's just been one of those people that's believed in me for a long, long time. Her name's Sandy. I love you, Sandy.
A big thanks to Trey for taking the time to share his stories with us, and thank you for taking the time to hang with me here. I really do appreciate it. If you know anyone that would enjoy this episode, please be sure to share it. You can do that and find the links to everything mentioned over at jfranzi.com/episode 108. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Jay Franzi Show. Make sure you visit us at jfranzi.com. Follow, connect, and say hello. This episode has been brought to you by VR Knives, your source for 100% custom knives made by a true rock star. So, if you're in the market for a new piece of art, reach out to VR Knives. 407-421-5528. 407-421-5528.